Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. You're watching CNBC TV 18. This is Reporter's Diary and I'm Arundhati Ramanan. The top story this evening, the Monetary Policy Committee headed by RBI Governor Urjit Patel has voted 5-1 in favor of a status quo policy. However, it has packed a lot of surprises in its statements. And let me quickly take you through some of the highlights of the Monetary Policy Panel, which has left the repo rate unchanged at 6%. Now, this decision is on expected lines. However, it has sprung a surprise, striking a dovish tone on the inflation front. The committee has cut the April to September inflation forecast from a range of 5.1 to 5.5% to a range of 4.7 to 5.1%. Forecast for the second half of the fiscal has also been cut from a range of 4.5 to 4.6% to a 4.4%. However, the panel added that risks to inflation were tilted to the upside on the growth front. The Monetary Policy Panel has predicted a GDP growth rate of 7.4% for the current fiscal. The other big news from the RBI today is on the storage of payment system data. The central bank has now made it mandatory to all payment system operators to ensure that data related to payment systems operated by them are stored only in India within a period of 6 months. The central bank has also barred virtual currency transactions by RBI-regulated entities. Those entities which already provide such services will have to stop it within a time specified by the RBI. Also, the implementation of Indian accounting standards for banks has been postponed by 1 year. Scheduled banks were expected to switch to the new accounting standards from the 1st of April. However, it has been deferred as it needs certain legislative changes.
Inflation prints for February did turn out to be softer than our projection. Much of this is because of the seasonal softening of the prices of vegetables that occurs during the winter months. However, the MPC looks ahead and we noted that there are several uncertainties around the baseline inflation path, which is why we kept the stance neutral and the rate unchanged. International crude oil prices have become volatile with a distinct hardening bias from the second half of March. Moreover, aggregate demand is expected to strengthen during the course of 2018-19. A normal monsoon and effective food supply management by the government was seen as mitigating factors. Overall, the MPC assessed the risks to inflation as tilted to the upside.
On to the big breaking story at this hour. In the latest development in the ICICI Bank Videocon case, the CBI is questioning Rajiv Kochar. Utkarsh Chaturvedi joins us with the details. Utkarsh, what is the CBI saying?
So exactly, we do not have the details about what is being probed right now, but what I know for sure what CBI says is that Rajiv Kochar is being questioned at this point of time in the Mumbai CBI office. Also, what we pick up is that he was boarding a flight to Singapore when he was being, called at the airport, and he's being questioned at this point of time. Now, what we're picking up is that Avista Advisory, which was his firm, ended up really advising a lot of companies. But what CBI says is that ICICI Bank mandated all these companies to go through Avista Advisory. This is something which CBI claims at this point of time. We will keep you updated on all the other developments in the news, but this is a big breaking given the fact that the PE was registered some time back and the FIR is still not registered in this case.
Utkarsh, can you confirm that Rajiv Kochar is in Mumbai?
Yeah, given the fact that he is being questioned in the CBI office at this point of time. So this is, he is in Mumbai. This is what the CBI officials are quoting us, telling us.
All right, Utkarsh, thank you so much for those details. The CBI, they're saying that Rajiv Kochar is being questioned in Mumbai.
In special, the Central Board of Direct Taxes has formed a working group that will look into the tax risks that high net worth individuals pose to the country when they migrate out of the country. The CBDT is alarmed because they feel that most high net worth individuals shift to other countries and pose themselves and NRIs to avoid paying higher taxes, even though they may have strong personal and economic ties in India. In fact, speaking to me last month at Network 18's Rising India Summit, Morgan Stanley's Ruchir Sharma had raised an alarm on large-scale migration of millionaires from India. Let's hear out what Ruchir had to say.
Last year, 7,000 millionaires left this country. the largest number in recent times. The year before that, it was 4,000. So the number is going up of the number of millionaires leaving this country. Foreign investment is important, but it's really domestic sort of participation, domestic investors who sort of make a nation going forward. So I think that, to me, this has to be really sort of looked into, that why are so many millionaires leaving this country? And if you're happy about it because you think this is part of the anti-corruption drive, fair enough. But when the number is the highest in the world, at least as a share of total millionaires leaving the country, that should be a cause for concern.
Well, that was Ruchu Sharma at our Rising India Summit. Speaking of the flight of millionaires out of India, the highest percentage of any country, 23,000 leaving India since 2014. To take this conversation forward and the decision of the CBDT to form a working group to look into taxation aspects of high net worth individuals, joining us is PwC's Gautam Mehra. Gautam, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. What do you make of the CBDT's decision, Gautam?
Yeah, thanks, Shireen. Great to be on the show. You know, this can be actually taken in one of two ways. Obviously, as Ruchi mentioned, it's this issue about how does one stop the flow of Indians leaving the country. Now, the policy that could be coming up could be either a stick approach or a carrot approach, right? And if I just very quickly point you in the direction of US has something called an exit tax, which really says that if a US resident leaves US and he's a high net worth individual, he could land up paying a tax on his exiting from US. And probably that's something that, you know, it is a stick approach, and that's something that would be considered by, you know, the committee, obviously, as they look at international precedents. The only fallback or the only downside of this is that if this does not get restricted to the audience at which it is targeted, it could actually act in a negative fashion by, you know, dissuading NRIs to come back and settle back in India. And I think that's the fine balance that will have to be maintained in attacking the folks who are, you know, leaving the country on improper grounds, but at the same time making sure that people who are leaving the country for genuine reasons and the good taxpayers and exciting people to come back to India, that balance should not be disturbed. That's very important.
You know, speaking of striking that balance, and you were talking about two approaches that the tax department might take, the stick approach and the carrot approach. I want to read to you, Gautam, the circular that's been put out by the CBDT, and then decipher whether we should expect a stick approach or a carrot approach. Such HNIs pose a substantial tax risk since they may treat themselves as non-residents for taxation purposes in the first jurisdiction, even the economic ties with that jurisdiction. So that would seem to suggest, wouldn't, at a first glance, that they are worried about people evading tax in the home country.
That's right, Shin. I think a plain reading of this certainly suggests that they're looking at people wanting to evade tax and thereby move out of the country. And that's a valid concern. But at the same time, one has to recognize that, you know, we do have, you know, immigrant laws where a person is free to relocate. I think the only thing is if you have folks like, you know, maybe somebody who's declared insolvent and who tries to flee the country, it's absolutely right to make sure that, you know, taxes are collected. You could have genuine cases of people relocating for, you know, let's say somebody's taking up a high net worth individual, getting a good job, you know, opportunity outside the country or other for some personal reasons. One should not just, you know, carpet bomb the entire thing. And I'm sure the committee would look at, you know, making sure that India continues to be in an interesting place for people to continue to reside here. The good taxpayers. And this is aimed only at the back taxpayers and not at everybody around.
Okay, let me also bring in Dinesh Kanabar, founder and CEO of Dhruva Advisors. Dinesh, you probably heard what Gautam Mehra had to say. What do you make of the CBDT circular that's been issued on the 3rd of April? And the first meeting of this working group will take place, in fact, on the 6th of April. Do you believe that this is an attempt to go after the bad taxpayers, the possible evaders, or do you believe that we could expect a sort of carpet bombing of high net worth individuals, so to speak?
So, Shirin, as a background, we have had situations where several names have come up in the HSBC papers, the Paradise Papers, so the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, the HSBC accounts. All of that already exists.
Yeah.
And the reality on the ground, Shirin, and that's the background of how this committee has come to be formed about, is that there are things, the prosecutions, there are other initiatives which have been launched by the tax office against the people whose name have come up. And that's ongoing for the last several years. It is not reaching anywhere.
Yeah.
There are people who probably are tired of this entire situation and are wanting to relocate.
Yeah.
Now, the legal position, Shirin, is quite clear. If you have committed some evasion of tax, are liable to prosecution, whether you leave the country or not, you continue to be so liable. The ability of India to reach out to people who have gone overseas is a separate issue, whether one resorts to extradition or whatever else. So that is one set of people.
Yeah.
The second set of people are, of course, the recent people who have fled the country. And I think the law will, their issues are much beyond taxes. That really is a question of diversion of money, fraud, etc. And tax forms a very small portion of their entire obligations.
Sure. So then what do you believe is the purpose of this circular? You know, and I don't know whether this is a coincidence, but on the 17th of March, in a conversation at on a CNBC TV 18 platform with Ruchir Sharma, we highlighted the fact that India had seen a flight of millionaires, in fact, the largest in the past year in comparison to any country, 7,000 millionaires leaving India. I don't know whether this has something to do with that statistic or not, but what do you then believe is the target of this circular?
So, Shirin, I would very strongly believe that that particular finding is a key to this whole committee being formed. So I would actually not have any significant doubt at all that the finding that there is a flight of people is what gives rise to the whole thing. Now, there are 2-3 issues which come in here. The government has been examining for a long, long time that if people are going overseas, are they sheltering funds? Are those funds then really coming on a round tripping into India? That's one aspect on which there has been no really answer which has come thus far, number one. Number two, and that is, I hope that the committee goes into it, but I would be disappointed if they don't, that really is tax being administered in a manner which really is making people leave the country. I would like to believe there is element of that also. So really the committee's perspective, to my mind, should be 2 things. One is there an evasion and is there inability on the part of the tax office to collect the monies merely because people have left the country? Remember that we have PMLA right out there. We have an ability of the tax office to reopen matters up to 16 years if there is a foreign asset involved. So the arms of the law have already been made very big and long, and they can reach anywhere. The question is the practical ability to implement the laws. Today we have PMLA being applied randomly as opposed to really detecting anything overseas. And I think this committee should be looking at both aspects, A, on the evasion aspect, and B, on an even-handed administration, so that people are not tempted to leave the country and go.
People are not forced out of the country is also what you're suggesting the committee should look at because of tax administration issues. Gautam, I'll end by asking you, what do you believe are the issues that the committee should look at, and what should be the strategy here on? As we pointed out, the first meeting of the committee is tomorrow.
Yes, so Shirin, 2 points. First point, clearly make these provisions pincer sharp so that they go and attack only the intended audience, and it's not just a very generic broad carpet bombing of everyone else. Let's not forget we are a country where we want to attract our non-resident citizens of Indian origin to come back to the country and set up base here, and this should not act as a deterrent. So clearly, if you are clear in whom you want to attack, I think it's a good move. The second also is, so this is the stick approach. The second is the carrot approach about, there's a lot to it just about the rate of tax, but also around fund administration, as Dinesh mentioned, a host of other things. So I think it would be great if the stick and carrot approach can both be looked at.
All right, gentlemen, we will try and reconnect with you if we get more details from when that first meeting takes place, which is tomorrow. But as we pointed out, 17th of March is when CNBC TV 18 raised the issue of the flight of millionaires out of the country. And on the 3rd of April, the CBDT issuing a circular to look at the flight of high net worth individuals out of India and how that could be averted.
Still with us on Reporter's Diary. On to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive, we learned from sources that most of the A320neo aircraft that were grounded by the DGCA are now back in action. 5 grounded aircraft of Indigo and 2 grounded aircraft of GoAir have been allowed to fly again. Both companies are now awaiting new Pratt & Whitney engines to get the remaining grounded aircrafts back in the air. Remember, the DGCA had grounded these aeroplanes on account of engine concerns. Ashpreet Sethi is here with all the details. Ashpreet, what are you picking up?
There's quite a breather coming in for Indigo and GoAir at this point of time, especially with majority of their A320neos which were grounded now back in operation. Now what we pick up from sources is that 5 out of the 8 Indigo A320neos which were grounded are back in operation, and in fact 3 GoAir neos which were grounded. Out of that, 2 GoAir neos are back in service. Now that's what we picked up from sources. Now of course we'll have to wait and see what happens next, because Pratt & Whitney is yet to deliver the engines for the remaining airplanes which have been grounded. Remember, these planes were grounded after a DGCA order which had come last month, where it had said that these planes have to be grounded because of certain faulty engines, series of engines which Pratt & Whitney had delivered to them. Pratt & Whitney in an analyst call had clearly said that by June they will be looking at ensuring that these airlines can have their planes back in the air. However, it seems like by April end this will be done. Now remember, Indigo has said that it will not hit their earnings, but of course the rescheduling and cancelling of flights combined, Indigo and GoAir has cancelled about 600 odd flights. So that will have an impact on the market share that the both airlines have. We'll have to wait and see by when all the planes will be back in the air.
Absolutely, but some breather there coming in for Indigo and GoAir. Thank you so much for taking us through those details, Ashpreet. Moving on, Star India has won television and digital broadcasting rights for the Indian cricket team's domestic matches for the next 5 years. Now, in a first-of-its-kind e-auction, Star has retained rights for television broadcasting of domestic matches and has also won the digital rights for the first time, beating the likes of Jio, Google and Facebook, among others. Star India will shell out a little over 6,100 crore rupees for the 5-year deal. This is 60% more than what it paid for 5 years when it won the BCCI contract for television rights alone in 2013. This effectively means that Star India will be shelling out 60 crore rupees on an average for every cricket match. Binani Cement's proposed out-of-court settlement plan has cleared another hurdle. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal today refused Dalmia Bharat's plea, seeking a stay on the settlement order. Dalmia Bharat told NCLAT that Binani is trying to circumvent the legal process and that the settlement is not in accordance with the IBC. However, the court has allowed insolvency proceedings to continue simultaneously. A Jodhpur court today pronounced actor Salman Khan guilty of killing a black buck and sentenced him to 5 years imprisonment and a fine of 10,000 rupees. Other actors, namely Saif Ali Khan, Sonali Bendre, Neelam and Tabu, were acquitted in the case. Salman was accused of killing 2 black bucks in Kakani village near Jodhpur during the shooting of the movie Hum Saath Saath Hai. Salman's bail plea is expected to be taken up tomorrow.